Alright guys, my buddy Ryan back here, our archery tech, he's got my phone fixed. Evidently when I lost my beard, I lost all kinds of common sense stuff, but I'm ready to talk about jig fishing and also want to talk some new products and stuff like that. Thanks to Coca-Cola for sponsoring this one. But before I get into jig fishing, which is one of my favorite things to do, I feel like I'm a pretty decent jig fisherman, and I want to show you some baits and differentiate. We're going to talk from finesse jigs all the way up to football jigs. Not really going to talk about punching jigs, but all that. What's up, Steve? What's up, Tim? What's up, Aaron McKinney? I am just fixing to talk about baits, Stephen. One of my favorite things to do. I love baits. And I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is going to be the last show till after January. And so one of the most popular things in the world is jigs. And I've caught a lot of good fish with jigs. But I want to show you guys some new products and stuff really quick. What's up, Jeff Defew? Learned a lot of jig fishing from Jeff Defew. I ain't going to give you away some of his secrets tonight. I'm going to keep those in the bag. But guys, as always, if you like this video, if you like the show, go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me. We're not talking about Jeremy Pruitt, David. Not going to do it. This show is not a college football show. So anyway, the jig is the #1 all-around bait. Probably caught more double-digit fish than anything else out there. Always a proven big bass catcher. So do me a favor, if you like the video, thumbs up, make sure you give it a share. Before we get into jig fishing, I got to show y'all a couple cool new products that I just put up on tacklefreaks.com today. One is the new Owner Jungle EWG hook. So if you're a fan of the Owner Jungle hook, Merry Christmas to you too, Eric. Glad you tuned in. Is the Owner Jungle EWG hook, and it's made with Zowire. So if you're a fan of the normal jungle hook and the material they use, the Zowire, this is a really, really good one. Aaron, I'm glad you said the Sandtone because my buddy Chris McCall sent me a nice pack of Sandtone lures to give away, and I think when I get home, we just might have to give that away. So this is the Owner Jungle EWG hook. It's made of Zowire. It's a super slick material, and you can't really see it here on the page, but you'll notice it's not really chrome, it's not really black. This Zowire slides in and out of soft plastics very easily. They now make this in a 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0 hook. It's kind of thick, great for it's not going to bend either. I'm telling you, these are great hooks for super line, heavy fluorocarbon. If you're throwing big bulky plastics, you'll want to go with this jungle hook. Those are on tacklefreaks.com right now. The next bait is a couple new colors from Reaction Innovations. Actually, Tracy, it's not a nickel, man. It's like a weird silver. You'll have to see it in person. This is a new color from Reaction Innovations. This color is Floribama. So you've kind of got a bluegill top, and then you've got a green pumpkin orange bottom. Hence the Florida kind of colors and the Bama bug colors. He mixed that one up. Haven't got this one online. I'll have it online tomorrow morning. It'll be under the Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver. Another awesome color from Josh Aaron. Kevin, how would you use a beaver on and an EWG weighted? I'll actually use a 3/0 Mustad grip pin hook, and I can show you that sometime. I use a 3/0 or a 3/0 grip pin flipping hook. That's my favorite beaver hook right now. I really like the Owner one. 3/0 Owner Jungle is a really good flipping hook on this, and that color is Floribama. Another new color that's always been really popular in like the skinny dippers and whatnot, and this is Bad Shad. So now you guys up north in the real clear water that want to pitch a beaver, there you go right there. There's the Bad Shad. It's almost a smoke color. You know them smallmouth really like that smoke color stuff. This one right here is going to be awesome. I'll have those on tacklefreaks.com tomorrow. And then I just put this one on there the other day in case you haven't seen it. And I'm actually going to show you how I rig a beaver on a jig, because I do that quite a bit. Matt Allen from Tactical Bass, and you ask him his favorite jig trailer. This right here, this is Warmouth. It's kind of like a roadkill with chartreuse and blue flake and green. This one right here is sweet, and that is on tacklefreaks.com right now. So got those in. I got a couple new lipless baits from Evergreen International. This is the ZE73, and I'll show you how loud these things are. This is one reason I got them. Thank you, Chad. Merry Christmas. Well, would you use a 3/8 jig with a trailer on a spinning combo medium heavy rod? I'll really stay away from spinning rods and reels. That's for jig fishing, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Unless I'm using like small jigs. But this bait right here, this is called Magic Gill. And it is really loud. But I really like how translucent this is. You can see through, and you can see these tungsten rattles in here. Small ones in the back, big ones up front. So you get you're going to get different rattling sounds. Evergreen's been in the U.S. for about 2 years now. You guys up north that the bass feed on the perch a lot, you'll really like this color right here. I really like it for Kentucky Lake, because even though it says gill, it's kind of got a gizzard shaddish color. And that's the ZE73s. These are a little pricey, but these are available. If you like the LV500, stuff like that, you'll really like that. There's a olive craw and of course a red fire crawl for all my Tennessee river guys. So that's new. And now we're going to kind of get into jig fishing. And let me start this first by talking about the new spinnerbait from Dirty Jigs Tackle. So if you haven't got a chance to make an order, and if you haven't got a chance to make an order or see, Dirty Jigs has a new spinnerbait out. And I want to show you that real quick. Yeah, Chad, get you one of these hats, man. Gotta open this up here. So this is the new spinnerbait from Dirty Jigs Tackle. And since we're doing a jig show, I guess we can talk about Dirty Jigs Tackle. This right here, this is just the double willow spinnerbait, standard chartreuse shad. You can see you've got a really pointed bullet head on it, but it's a 3D eyes and everything. You've got an ultra point 4/0 mustad hook back here, super sharp, quality components. That color there is chartreuse shad. It's been a hot seller. Had these on most of the week since Monday, and they're going really fast. Merry Christmas to you too as well, Johnny. Appreciate that. Show you all the colors that are available. This is my favorite right here. This is Purple Haze, man. Look at that. Also available in the Swim Jig, and I'll show you the Swim Jig here in a minute. What's my favorite wintertime swim baits for the A-Rig? Great question. I don't throw A-Rig very much, so I can't answer that. I'm going to say a Kitech. Awesome, Leighton. I appreciate it, man. I like them too. I might wear this one home tonight. Here's the albino color, Dirty Jigs. I'll show this one too as soon as I can open it. If you really like blue glimmer, this albino, I know the pictures don't show up on it, do justice, but it's got a little purple hue to it. Really good color. What's up, Tyler Bates? Let's see. Let me get that Purple Haze out for you. So Kurt's been working on spinnerbait for like 2 years, and he's got it right. And this is my favorite out of all the colors. This right here is Purple Haze. And it is basically a blue glimmer, purple combo. I'm sold out in several sizes, but I got some 3/4 left. This right here is the deal. So go order these more back up. Really like this color from Dirty Jigs Tackle. And he's now make it in the Swim Jig as well. So we better get on with this show. So now y'all see the Dirty Jigs Tackle spinnerbaits. They are on tacklefreaks.com. Only place in the country right now you can buy them. So if you want to get a head start on everything, just log on there. Use that code BAITMAN, get 10% off. So anyways, let's talk jig fishing. Go ahead, if you haven't, make sure you give a thumbs up and share this video. Now we're going to get into meat and potatoes. We're going to get into jig fishing, and I'm going to start off by talking about the differences in jigs. Not every jig is the same. There are jigs for shallow water. There are jigs for deep water. There are jigs for flipping. There are jigs for boat docks. And there are jigs for skipping. And we're going to go over all that. I use different rod and reel combinations based on what kind of jig and the type of cover I'm fishing. So first off, let's talk about the standard football head jig. And I'm going to show you one. If you don't know what a football head is, it's like the name says, and I'm going to show you my favorite #1 go-to football jig, and it's pretty cool. This is made from Dirty Jigs tackle, and this is the tour level football jig, and this color right here is called Baxter's Bug for a reason, because the Baitman Baxter throws this 95% of the time on Kentucky Lake. I've even got video of my boy Jeff Defew, fishing partner, who actually put me on this colors. I don't know why they named it after me, but this color right here catches them all the time. David Newcomb, hey, why don't you post a photo of a bass over 3 pounds, and I'll show you the best jig combo on the planet. David Newcomb's got all the nice rods and reels. We can't catch nothing over 15 inches, guys. I'm just messing, Newcomb. Just messing. Merry Christmas. But so this is Baxter's Bug. This is a green pumpkin chartreuse color, but the long story short, football jig, this looks like a football. And this is just a Mustad Ultra Point hook. And you'll notice it's got a 60-degree line tie. So when that jig is right here, you're just pulling it and it rocks. When it hits its cover, your football head will want to rock. And that makes it really, really enticing. So when you're out on Kentucky Lake or anywhere like that, you're fishing deep structure anywhere between 8 and 30 feet. I really like the football jig. Downside on a football jig, it is going to get hung up in wood. This is not a good jig to throw in wood. This is a 3/4 ounce. I usually rotate between 1/2 and a 3/4, maybe 1 in some current. I'm just messing with Dave. I think I seen him put a 16-incher on there one time, but I'll show you what I like for a football jig. But that's the Dirty Jigs TL football jig. I really, really like this. This is probably one of my favorites. Now, one thing I will do, when there's a lot of pressure and stuff, I'll pull the weed guards out. I'm not a big weed guard guy, so I'll pull the weed guard out. Another good football jig. This is the Jewel, really popular jig here. This is the heavy cover finesse football jig. Now you notice it's got a different style hook. It's not a round bend. It's almost an O'Shaughnessy style hook. Yeah, absolutely. Football jig on the rock piles. That's kind of what it's made for. Football jig's more for around rock, not so much heavy cover and brush. Now this is the Jewel jig. This is a great, great jig right here. Sean, I'll get into that in just a second, buddy. It's got a different style hook. You'll notice the head's got a little indenture. This is a really popular football jig. See how it sits there in my hand. One thing is different. This is a lighter wire hook. You're going to get a lot better penetration usually with a light wire hook on a football jig. I don't like anything any thicker than what's on this Dirty Jigs. I'm not a big fan of the companies putting out tuna hooks in football jigs, because when you're out fishing deep, think of it like this. You can throw an axe at a tree and it'll stick in there. Or you can throw a needle and it takes a lot less effort to get the needle to stick in the tree than it does the axe. John, I don't know who come out with the football jig. Probably Al Gore, if I had to guess, because he's invented everything. I really don't know. I know it out west is where the football jig really came from. A lot of stuff migrates from out west. But so that's the Jewel. I'll talk about trailers here in a second. I'm going to use something small profile on my jewel jig. Speaking of living rubber, someone asked about living rubber on your jigs. This is the Strike King comeback jig. This is what Jordan Lee used to win the Classic. Very big. It's basically a mop jig right here. One cool thing about it, again, it's a deep water jig, light wire hook. It's got a flat, if you'll notice, this is really flat here. This is to keep it stand up. And this mop, this living rubber, it's round. So what this does, it makes this jig really bulky, and it kind of breathes. And what I use as a trailer on this, on any kind of living rubber, I always used Uncle Josh pork, but Uncle Josh pork is no longer available to us. No longer available to us. So, yes, Mark, they made it really long. That way you can trim it how you want to. Because if you made a really short one, you know, some guys really like this big bulk and a mop style jig. That's a good one, Pete. I'm going to get into that here in just a minute when I cover casting jigs. But thanks for reminding me. That's a great jig. So, guy asked, what do you use as a trailer on these? I'll use a, if I can find one in here. Or maybe I can't. This right here. This is the new Berkeley Max Scent stuff. Lane, I do not personally sponsor anybody. I'm sorry to let you know that. I knew this jig show would turn into people posting all their jig companies on there. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. Anyway, so the reason I like this Max Scent is because you can't get Uncle Josh pork anymore. Cold weather, I really like the mop jig. So this time of year, I'm really like this. Chase, this time of year, I really dead stick a football jig really slow. Like this mop jig. So what I'll do is I'll just put this big Berkeley Max Scent trailer on here. I'm not going to do anything special. It's already a bulky jig. I'm just going to let it hang. And now I've got me a big old, this is a big mill. A big, slow mill. David, there are some guys that do not put a trailer on their mop jig, and that's something right there. I didn't match the trailer to the color, but I used to use Uncle Josh, so I like this Max Scent because it's got the same kind of smell and everything. Yeah, great. Yeah, you're right, Paul. When it's really sluggish, a lot of guys like this. I mean, Jordan Lee, springtime, this is the jig he won the Classic on. So you really can't argue the success over this thing right here. Great for a dragging or a slow presentation. A lot of guys throw a big trailer on here to slow the fall of the jig, and it just kind of sits there. A lot of guys, Aaron Strickland 4-inch slider worm, great. I was going to do that. I know guys that put like a finesse worm on here, and that's it. It's almost like a worm on a jig head that breathes. I like this anytime the water is 55 degrees or less, or in the spring as it's starting to warm up, or when it's starting to get really cold. Really like the living rubber. I fish it very slow. I don't throw them a whole lot, but I fish this really slow. Now, a normal football jig, my presentation is pretty much throwing it out. I drag it back like a Carolina rig. I actually fish a football jig in the summer pretty fast. I use a 7 to 8 to 1 reel, and I throw it out there, and I basically drag. When I feel something, some structure, I like to do a little shaking action. Learned that from Jeff Defew quite a bit. Thoughts on living rubber versus silicone? Both's got a time and a place. So I throw a football jig. That's a good question, David. I'll get into it in just a second. And let me go through these baits. I promise, guys. I'm trying to stay on one plan because I don't want to get all over the place. I got ADD really bad. So let's get in a couple more football jigs that kind of sum up what we got here. Some guys like a really big hook in a football jig. man, Rod, I wish they still made Uncle Josh. They don't anymore, unfortunately. If you like Uncle Josh, get that Berkeley Max in. It's really good stuff. So if you want a big hook, if you're fishing going to Mexico, you're coming to Kentucky Lake, you're going somewhere with some big bass. This Slong's football jig has a big giant 5/0 EWG hook in it. It's a good jig. I used to use it quite a bit. They're made here in Kentucky. It's going to stand up like that right there. This is basically a watermelon blue flake. Really good color, especially here on Kentucky Lake. But that's a really good jig. We sell a lot of these. And then another good one, if say I'm out of my dirty jigs, this is one that's really popular here on Kentucky Lake. And I know a lot of guys catch them on this. If I can get this sucker out of the package. This is made by Picasso Lures. Robert, I'm not a huge fan of that, but you know, I've got some big bass on it. Maybe it's me, because I'll lose a lot of fish on EWG style football jig hooks. But this is one of my favorites right here. This is the Picasso Lures fantasy football jig. And one thing I like about it, it doesn't have a huge hook. This is a light wire jig hook. Gets lots of good penetration on this thing right here. Hey, not a problem, AJ. Appreciate it. But one thing I really like about this jig that none of the others I've showed you have, this right here, this is the line tie. It's a recessed line tie in the head. And what's cool about that, this really protects your knot. So when you tie it, your knot's right here. It's not getting banged up by the rock or anything. But that's a green pumpkin with chartreuse, green pumpkin tiger. This thing right here is ready to catch fish right out of the package. If I'm going to put a trailer, I'll go through some trailers real quick. Bruiser baits. This is a good one. I'm telling you, this one right here catches them. And what I do if I'm fishing for some big fish, I cut this off right here and then thread it on, and it's perfect. I don't really want to mess this bait in the package up, but that right there is a really good jig trailer. That's summer craw, matches this one really good. Before I get into trailers for these jigs though, let's talk about setup. So when I'm throwing a football jig, I like a longer rod. My setup for a football jig, right now, is the 744 Dobyns Champion full cork full handle rod. I've got it paired now with the Shimano K 7-to-1 reel. Actually, this is an XG 8-to-1. 7'4" is going to give me good length on the cast. The 4-power is a heavy power Dobyns rod. Extra fast tip. So when I like to drag that football jig, the length of this rod, I can get it way out there. It's long enough I can pick up slack really quickly. Very sensitive rod. Really love the full handle cork. I feel I can control the fish a little bit better on full handle. Split handle is a little bit lighter. I'm old school. I really like the cork. I feel it's a little bit more sensitive. But the 744 Champion, that's my favorite football jig rod if I'm out fishing deep. Really like it. The 745 Extreme's a really good rod as well. It is a little bit more sensitive, but I'm a guy on a budget, and I really love the Champion rod for the money. Like it quite a bit. 744 full handle. Always got Dobyns in stock. If you ever need one, send me a message. I'll take care of you. We'll get it shipped right to your house. New Corrado 8-to-1. When I'm throwing a football jig, I throw 17-pound Sunline Assassin. Really good line. Probably my favorite. If I'm fishing around a lot of brush, I'll even run this as 17-pound of Brazix. Not a whole lot of difference in the two, but I've never had any bad luck out of this Sunline Assassin. It fires off the reel. Really good stuff. So that's my setup there. I'll just lay that back here. Now let's talk trailers for a football jig. I've started using this this year. This is a great trailer for a football jig. This is the Strike King Structure Bug. And Jeff Defew and I were fishing when I was testing this little guy out here, and I caught him pretty good on the back of a football jig. But this is the Strike King Structure Bug, and what I'll do on my jig is I'm not going to do it here. I'll clip off this little part here, and I thread that on the back of my football jig. Makes a great trailer, and you can pull these little things right here apart. Bill Schroeder, you need to come here right now, get in your vehicle, drive here to Kentucky Lake Outdoors, and come get on this jig fishing show right now. No, I'm not a southpaw, it's just the video's backwards. So, probably one of the most underrated flipping baits in the country. This is also a great football jig trailer, adds a lot of bulk to it. This is a blue. I really like contrasting colors. I'll rig it up here. So we've got us a green pumpkin blue Slong's football jig. And here's how I'm going to do my rage bug. I'm just going to slide it up there and just push it right on there. Oh man, that looks good right there. That is swamp water blue with the green pumpkin blue, watermelon blue. That right there is going to catch a jaint on Kentucky Lake. Robbie Bartlesek is in the video. Robbie got some jigs from me during the FLW Coast event. He has a Dirty Secret football jig, and he catches them on it. Robbie, what's a tip to catch a couple jaints on Kentucky Lake? That right there, guys, that looks really good. Net bait pack a crawl is all you need. Nate, I'm glad you said that, because I'm fixing to show guys what I like on the back on my net baits. Net bait pack a crawl is awesome. That trailer weighted on with the jig, which one do you prefer? I always throw a jig with the trailer. What's up, Brooks? Brooks from Nichols Lures. Brooks makes some awesome stuff, especially when it comes to swim jigs, and we'll get into that really quick. Let's see here. What other trailers do we got for football jigs here? This is becoming one of my favorite trailers. Let's see. This is the Net Bait Pack-A Slim. And this is what I throw on the Baxter's Bug. This is Summer Crawl. And I'm going to show you how I rig the Pack-A Slim up. Very similar. I don't really do any kind of trimming or anything, because I've got a big jig and I'm targeting big fish. So I like the chartreuse side basically facing the inside of the jig. So how I do that, hold the jig upside down, and I will thread this thing up. And the cool thing about the Pack-A Slim is it's solid. Now thread it right up on there. You might have to go down just a little bit longer. You want to make sure it's nice and straight. You want to kind of come out about the middle of the head. Thread this thing right here. There you go. That right there. That is the bait, guys. That is Baxter's Bug. That is going to catch them. That catches them every single year. Net bait, Pack-A Slim. See how good that looks on that football jig? And one good reason I like the Pack-A Slim is this is solid. It is the 4-inch BJ. That right there, man, that's Baxter's Bug. Summer Crawl, Pack-A Slim. I got plenty on TackleFreaks.com. I got some videos somewhere of Jeff Defew catching them. So I want to get off football jigs because we could be here all night. I can go over trailers some time too, but let's get into swim jigs. Swim jigs are totally different, and let's start right here with Nichols Lures. This is one I talk about all the time. This is the Nichols Lures Sledgehammer. Correct, Nate. Man, that Pack-A Slim, that is literally one of my favorite soft plastics. I throw Rage Crawl a lot too. We all know what Rage Crawls are, but this is the Nichols Lures. This is DB's River Brim, made to imitate a brim, and it's a swim jig. And so big difference in the swim jig. You're mostly going to see very bullet style heads, not a lot of EWG hooks. This sledgehammer has a really, this is made for fishing in Florida, for Coosa River, big spotted bass, big heavy duty hook in there, great around lots of vegetation. Nichols Lures, they're all handmade down there in Georgia. Brooks does an awesome job. So that's the sledgehammer. Also check out the color shad spawn. It's one of my favorites. And there's also a finesse version of Nichols Swim Jig that came out at ICAST. We carry those as well. And get this thing back in the box. And also each sledgehammer comes with a toothpick. And I meant to show you guys this. On a Nichols Swim Jig, with all their jigs, there's this little piece down here. You see this? You slide your trailer up there and then you toothpick your trailer. It is not going nowhere, so that makes it really awesome. I really like the sledgehammer. Caught several fish on this thing. Threw this color at Gunnersville. It was pretty good. So I'm going to set that back in the package. But one thing Dirty Jigs Tackle is probably famous for more than anything is their swim jigs. When do I throw a swim jig, Nate? I actually throw a swim jig in the fall. I actually fish it pre-spawn around boat docks. Rod, I kind of have to figure out what the fish want to do. If I want to visually see my jig, I like a quarter, maybe a 3/8, 5/16. I really like if I want it up in the top of the water column, really like a lightweight. If I don't want to see my swim jig, maybe I'm swimming some deeper channel swing banks, stuff like that, really like a 1/2 ounce. So Dirty Jigs Tackle's got two different swim jigs. The normal swim jig, which is this right here. This is a color called Bluegill 2. Bluegill are very popular swim jig colors. And this is the Dirty Jigs regular swim jig. This is a new color called Bluegill 2. And you'll notice it's got a little orange, got the blue, and it's got that green pumpkin. This thing's deadly all year round. Spring, summer, fall. Bass feed on bluegill, and this is what this imitates. Boat docks, laydowns. Guys throw these things, heavy weights, on deep structures. So you've got a little bit bigger hook in the regular swim jig. You see bullet-shaped nose. Dirty Jigs paints all the heads. They look awesome. And it's like a 30-degree line tie. So it's made to fish straight. This you don't want to put on the bottom and hop it up and down. I like a pump and go. Some guys slow roll it. But that's the normal finesse swim jig. That color's Bluegill 2. And then Dirty Jigs also makes a finesse swim jig. This is a new color, and I really like the finesse swim jig when I want to imitate small bait fish. And the finesse swim jig is this right here. This color's Purple Haze. And I'll show you what I would use on the back. But real light wire hook, a fluorocarbon color skirt or weed guard, but its weed guard's really thin on this. That color's Purple Haze. God dang it, I got too much stuff. I like the old Menace Grub. Menace Grub on the swim jigs, really good. Don't ask why. No, I put trailer on, John. I'm just trying to go through the jigs right now before I get really crazy with everything. Just everybody's asking so many questions, I can't go straight. So I like very finessey bait here. I'm not going to do it, but I usually bite off just a little bit of this right here. Thread me a little Menace Grub action on this. If I'm throwing white, I'm really wanting to imitate bait fish. I just thread it on there. You have to kind of push it right up there. Whoo, whoo, that right there, that is going to catch them. So you're going to have a lot of vibration right there with that Menace Grub, and I just swim it. Throw this out there, light line. I use like 12, 14 pound tests with this finesse swim jig and just reel it steady in, or I want to see this right up near the surface. That's a good trailer for the finesse swim jig. Or that color. I'll really try to match the color up. Yeah, Nate, I have not on a swim jig. I have on a chatterbait. I'm going to tell y'all another good trailer. Believe it or not, this right here is a good one. This is the Z-Crawl Junior. This makes a really good swim jig trailer. So I'm going to put this Z-Crawl Junior up on this big old finesse, or big swim jig. That right there. That'll work too, imitating the bluegill. I pretty much want to make anything, my trailer, look very natural. So if I'm throwing a white jig, I want a whitish trailer. I don't contrast my colors like I would a football jig or something else. If it's white, white trailer. If it's green pumpkin, green trailer. Anytime I want to imitate a bluegill, stick to my bluegill colors. Z-Crawl Juniors are great. Menace grub, double grubs, pack of craws. There's really an endless combination, man. It's really personal preference. Just when you're swimming a jig, most of the time you're going to imitate a bluegill or a shad. So remember that. Or a fleeing crawfish. I mean, the Alabama craw colors sell really good too. I know a lot of guys swim a jig in the springtime, and they use some crawfish colors. I mean, if you're throwing a crawfish colored rattle trap, crawfish colored jig will work as well. So that's the basics on a swim jig. Those are on TackleFreaks.com. I've also got Strike King swim jigs and all that stuff. I just really, man, that show's only so long. So we've done football jigs and swim jigs. My setup for a swim jig, I use like a 7-1 medium heavy rod, fast action. Anywhere between 12 to 14 pound test. Sniper FC, that's what I use right there. Contex are a great swim jig trailer. I'm glad you asked that. I throw those quite a bit. Actually, my buddy Troy Hollowell and I caught a bunch of fish on a swim jig last year and just nailed them with the Contex on the back. Really, like, yeah, Nate, I'll use, like, on a big profile swim jig, I'll use the 4.8. For the most part, I use the, like, 3.3s. Really great. Matt, yeah, we're going to have some giveaways coming up. Just trying to get this jig show going. May have to do part 2 when I come back, jig trailers. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll stay away from the trailers today. We'll talk about jig trailers when I get back from January. Because, man, you talk about jigs or swim baits, everybody... There's questions everywhere. I got to stay focused, laser focused. So, somebody talked about a structure jig. I think that was Pete Thomason. And I'm going to show you a structure jig. This is the structure jig from Strike King Lures. Yeah, hopefully Beast Coast can send me a couple of them. I want to check them out. So, this is the structure jig. It's you'll notice it's very different. It kind of looks like an ace of spades, and this is meant for a casting jig. Deep water casting is what this is. This is a different style hook. This is an O'Shaughnessy style hook, and so here's the deal. When I'm casting a jig, I'm not dead sticking it. Usually I'm hopping it. And what I mean by hopping it is I rip it up off the bottom, usually on slack line. And what's real important in this jig is it's not a heavy wire hook. No problem, Jeff. I appreciate you tuning in, man. Guys, Jeff Dobson, wish him good luck on the FLW Tour this year. Just sent him a bunch of new reels. So this structure jig here, it's designed for stroking up and down. Stroking is basically came from Kentucky Lake. Bill Schrader Sr., Tommy Snow, they were the inventors of the jig stroke, and guys like Sean Penn, Terry Bolton, and even little Bill Schrader, it's probably on here, they have really made it famous. And the deal is, some guys stroke a football head. I've done it, but this head right here, this structure style jig head right here, this is the best style for that. But you want a light wire hook, and you want a super stiff rod. So I use, but I also want a really light rod. I need to stress that when you're hopping a jig, you really need a light rod, because when you're doing it multiple times, it puts a lot of stress on your shoulder, So I'm going to show you my casting jig setup. This is a Shimano X-Pride. It is every bit of the rod a GLX or High Dollar Loomis is. It's just made by Shimano. This is super rod. It's super sensitive. This is a 7.2 heavy. It's got a lot of backbone, but it's super lightweight. Traditionally, most guys stroke or throw a casting jig on a shorter 6.8, 6.6. I found through the last year I really like this 7.2 just to get a little bit more distance. But one thing, this rod is super light. Shimano Titanium right here, super light reel. So I'm going to get the best of bottom contact I can feel, and I'm going to get power. This rod has a lot of backbone, because when you hop this thing like that and that fish hits on slack line, 8-to-1 reel, I want to get that slack in and I want to be able to pop him, because a lot of your bites are going to come on the foam. Andy, dude, this rod's priced really good. It's not much more than a Dobbins champion. It's $269.99. Dude, I love the X-Pride. Jeff let me use his this year. Now, let's just say this: the Dobbins and the X-Pride, that's probably two of the best rods on the market for the price. Now, everybody makes good rods. NRX is a great bottom contact rod. Favorite's got good rods. Everybody makes a good rod. But my personal preference, this right here, X-Pride Titanium XG, you got to get the slack in on these casting jigs, especially when you're hopping it up and down. So, set that there for a moment. Not going to get too much in more with the casting jig. Let's see what somebody said here. What makes the structure style head better for stroking? I don't know. It's not so much the head as it is the hook. The jig will fall straight down. This hook right here, this is the deal. I don't know why, but this O'Shaughnessy style hook, man, that is the deal. The guys that are really good stroking a jig, they like this hook. It really catches them. Football jig, you'll tend to hook a lot of fish in the side of the mouth because the way the head's designed, it rolls over. This won't, and a lot of times this comes through cover really good. Casting jigs are really good brush pile jig. It just doesn't get hung up. You'll notice this is not a 90-degree line tie. So when you throw that jig and you hop it up and he bites it on the fall, this hook right here goes, when you set the hook, it goes straight up in them. And that's the structure jig from Strike King. Woo! Got a lot to talk about, a lot to go. I hope we're all good. Give me a thumbs up if you're still paying attention and haven't fell asleep. So, trailers on that we'll get into soon. I'm going to do another show over trailers after January 1st. So, y'all stick with me. Very simple on stroking jig trailers. I like a Zoom Super Chunk or Salty Chunk. Let's talk about finesse jigs. Let's talk about flipping jigs. So, very simple. Your flipping jigs, they're big, they're beefy, they got extra stout hooks in them because you're going to be using 7.6 to 7.9, even 8-foot flipping stick. You're going to pull those fish out of the biggest, baddest cover there is. This right here is the Dirty Jig Scott Canterbury flipping jig. I ought to get Scott Canterbury on here to tell you about it. Very solid head right there, two-tone. It's got about a 30-degree eye tie, super strong 3X mustad hook. This is for pulling the big fish out. This color is Okeechobee 420. I keep it simple on my flipping jigs. I'm either throwing a green or a black and blue. This is a combo of both. Just put these on tacklefreaks.com. Big seller right here. Very bulky. I'm going to use the old Super Chunk. If I'm flipping this thing, I'm going to load me up a black and blue Super Chunk. I'm going to just thread it on there like that. I always thread it almost all the way down. I like to thread my trailers. Some people don't. Long story short, that's how I'm going to flip that jig right there. I want a big, bulky profile. When it falls down, old Big gets him a mill full. Big mill. And that's Okeechobee 420. So it's a black and blue with the green pumpkin. Put me a black and blue trailer on there. Very good color, even for clear water. Kentucky Lake, that's just a great color overall. I keep it very simple. Blacks and blues, your green pumpkins, your green pumpkin purples, or a mixture of those colors do really, really good. I use a heavier jig to punch through a lot of cover, so I'm flipping usually at least a ½ ounce. And that's the Dirty Jigs Flippin Jig. A new one that's out that I really like is the Missile Baits Ike's Flip Out. This is another very close to the same color. It's got an even bigger hook, a little bit wider gap than the Dirty Jigs hook. Got a really round head, but it's got about a 70-degree line tie instead of the 30. It's almost like a round ball mated with the archy head. Really good flipping jig. I really love the small one. Ron, I definitely use rattles. I'm not convinced myself how much difference it makes because I don't use them that much. But I know the guys in the dirty water love rattles. Nighttime jig fishing, put some rattles in there. Whew, I need a Coke. Superbug is your black and blue, your green pumpkin. The big deal on this thing is the hook. Super awesome, super stout hook. Missile Jigs, man, Missile Baits in general, man, they've got it going on. I love their stuff, man. Really innovative. Always gotten some new cool stuff in there. But the Flippin Jigs, guys, it's more about, I like a heavier weight, so you get a lot of reaction bite. But there are times when fish like a slower fall. I usually flip with 20-pound Sunline Sniper. I actually like the Seaguar flipping line a whole lot. Now, I have flipped with 14-pound test before. And I've done really, really good flipping 14-pound fluorocarbon. However, flipping a smaller jig, not near as heavy as this, or a light Texas rig, when it gets really tough, I'll get down to that smaller fluorocarbon line. Especially with a beaver. I've caught a lot of fish flipping 14 with the beaver. Kyle, good thing you said that. I want to show you guys some compact flipping jigs real quick. If I can get these things, can't ever get stuff back in the package. So, there's another jig from Dirty Jigs. It's a compact flipping style jig. What's up, wife? How's my son doing? This is, there's a video on YouTube I made. I had some of these in prototype phase. This is the Luke Clawson Compact Pitching Jig by Dirty Jigs. And you'll see it's got a very fine skirt to it. The skirt's not nearly as long as the Scott Canterbury jig. What's up, Kevin? But you'll notice, not as long a hook. This is a 3/0 3X hook. Super, super sharp, smaller archy style head. This is, I believe this is green pumpkin candy. Woo, I like that. Going to match this up. Look at this, guys. Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl. Who is here? S Jig Out. This is Huckleberry Speed Crawl. A very good finesse jig trailer. So let's show you how I like this right here. It's going to be good. Thread her up there. Thread your speed crawl up there. See this? This is one thing I like about this jig. There is a bait keeper right there. So once it goes on, it's on. Whoop, right there. Oh, baby, look how good that thing looks. That is the Huckleberry Speed Crawl on the back of that compact pitching jig. Woo. So one reason I like this little jig here is I can pitch it and I can swim it and I can kill it. I haven't seen Matt Herron's jig out yet, Terry. Hopefully it comes out soon. Matt's a great jig fisherman. That's kind of a very awesome color right there. That's Huckleberry on a green pumpkin candy. But again, the compact jig, if I want a smaller presentation, Smaller presentation, slower fall, fish that have been really pressured, I go to something like that. Again, with that ultraviolet speed crawl, I can go down a bank, and if I can swim it in between targets. And then I get down to a lay down, a stump, a dock, bushes, I can really pick it apart. But if I'm just going, instead of just wasting dead water, I can swim this jig back to the boat. Really like that. Speaking of combat, here's another jig. This is the Missile Ike's mini flip out. You can cast any of these jigs you want to. Flippin Jigs, though, have heavier gauge wire hooks. When you're, I gotta think what I'm saying. Flippin Jigs are meant for close water fishing. They got big, stout hooks, and a lot of times you poke a lot bigger hole in the fish's mouth with a flipping hook. So I'm not going to fish a flipping jig, let's say, out on a 20-foot deep hump. I'm also not going to throw a light wire jig in a tree fishing braided line, because you're going to bend the hook out up close using big, heavy rods. You know, my flipping stick's 7.7 to 7.10 extra heavy versus 7.2 to 7.5 out deep, using braid, other stuff. This is the Ike's mini flip. You'll see really short skirt, really short hook, but again, really stout, made for fishing deep cover, hand to hand. Got these on TackleFreaks.com. This is a green pumpkin purple. I don't know what I've missed. I've probably missed talking about finesse jigs and stuff like that. It's getting late, but almost everything I've showed you, other than the probably soft plastics, is on TackleFreaks.com. And I think what I should do, give me a thumbs up if you think I should do a YouTube mini-series on deep jigging. Neely is really into this. I should do a YouTube mini-series on jigs one-on-one. I'll break down football jigs and finesse jigs and all that. And then I don't have the pressure of the live. That's what I should probably do. And let's see, what else have I got up here? I've got a mess of stuff, guys. I was just totally unprepared. Deep water, I've covered deep water, football jigs, casting structure jigs. That's kind of what I use. Like I said, this right here, this is the #1 deep water jig I know of. Dirty Jigs football jig. I love doing the live shows, but man, there's so much to cover, and I don't really feel like I'm doing a good job because I've got so much going on. So I think I need to start converting this stuff to YouTube. If you guys would watch it, you know, for the most part, I think guys do. Nathan, you are right. It is the topic that never ends. If you ever want to get a bunch of comments on a Facebook status, put, hey, who makes the best jig? Guaranteed 500 responses. What trailer would I use in the summer? Man, I use the same big, I use this right here, this trailer right here. I use this Pack of Slim, spring, summer, fall. I don't really change my trailers on my jig too much. You did, Terry. You definitely caught one of my Jonathan Creek jigs. You should frame that and send it to me. We actually just need to go fishing together. But anyway, that's a good question. I changed my my trailers up more to the time of the year. So when fish are less aggressive, I use a less aggressive trailer. When fish are more aggressive, I want a really aggressive trailer. Packer Craw is a swimmer. Packer Craw is probably one of the most versatile. You can fish it by itself. You can fish it on the back of a swim jig, on a football jig. I like to pack a chunk on a casting jig. Really, really like it. I've really got to. This is a Pack of Slim, and if you can't tell, it's got a solid body, and that's what I really like about it. It doesn't tear up near as easy. That color's Baxter's Bug. Just look for it on TackleFreaks.com. But yeah, I've got to clean my mess up and other things. Rage Mist, great trailer, man. There is no bad jig trailer out there. Let me just be. I have never used J Biggs football jigs, Jared. I keep it really simple. I stick to dirty jigs. Strike King. I've used some of the Angler Assets jigs my buddy Robert Danielson makes. They're great jigs. When people come on Facebook and say, this is the best jig ever made, I just want to laugh because there's so many good options out there. It's like that guy in high school that thinks he can kick everybody's ass, but I promise you there's another guy out there that can beat him. It's all personal preference. A jig is a jig. I think a lot of people overthink stuff. I mean, a football jig is a football jig. It's all about what hook you like. There's guys that, like I said, this is the style hook I like. This is a medium wire. I also like a lot wire hook. But then there's guys that they like the big EWG style hook. This is probably one of my favorite hooks. This is just a lot wire round band. I do not lose fish. Yes, I've used PJ's jig. Brian liked the PJ's. It's a good jig. Yeah, if you're going to go fish places like Fork or Falcon that's got really heavy cover, you're going to want that big, heavy football jig hook or in your jig. If you're going to go fish places open water, you don't need that big, heavy hook. Correct, John. You have hit the nail on the head. Whatever you have the most confidence in. For me, I like a lot wire and medium wire hook. I have a lot of confidence. I just do not lose fish on those. There's some guys, they love the heaviest hook they can get. But anyway, guys, I think I'm getting off here. I'm getting long-winded. So, my boy Zach Burge is messaging me in the middle of my show. He said he needs some secret baits for Okeechobee. He said he needs some green, pumpkin, and June bug mixed speed worms. Ooh, JB Jigs has sickle hooks. I'm not a fan of sickle hooks unless I'm crappie fishing. I really wish people would not use my show to do pro staff posts. It really kills me. I ordered some jigs from a guy and the skirts smell like kerosene. How can I get the smell out? Dippleman Skull. I'm not sure. That's a funny. I've never been asked that question. Let's see. Yeah, Ben Milliken's my boy. He's a good dude. Craig, I'll put this on Facebook tomorrow. I'm going to do a part 2 of jig fishing. I'm going to call my buddy. I'm going to call Bill Schroeder, and we're going to do we're going to go through trailers for jig fishing. I'll have them already ready and laid out, so I don't have to open a bunch of stuff. But guys, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Log on TackleFreaks.com. I'll get you taken care of if you want a hat or this coastal shirt. Most of the jigs I've discussed are online. I've got to get all my plastics on there. I appreciate everything everybody's done for me this year. I enjoy this live show every week. I've just got to be more prepared. There's so many topics out there we have not talked about. Thank you very much, Matt Allen. Thank you very much, Zach Burge, Clint Davis, Kelly Jordan, all the pro guys that's helped support me this year. Thank you guys so much for working. It was almost a year ago last year I decided to launch TackleFreaks.com, come to Kentucky Lake Outdoors and start something new. And, man, the support has been really, really awesome. And I could not have done it without many people that watch this show every week, people that don't watch the show that are always sharing, always liking things. Nate Martin, there's a guy on every week. Aaron Strickland, Jared Caesar, all you guys. I really appreciate Tim Huddleston. Just want to say thank you guys. Everybody that comes in the store, I try to make time for it. I know I get really busy, and I'm so scatterbrained I have to write things down. But thank you so much, Aaron Ball, Tony Barracks, all you guys. I don't care if guys spend $1 or $5,000. At the end, I want you to catch fish, and I like to go catch fish, and that's what Tackle Freaks is about, because I'm a freak about tackle because I sure don't catch a lot of bass. I don't get that much time. But, guys, I appreciate everything for every like, every share. It means a lot to me. It's a pretty cool deal when you go to the gas station and someone goes, hey, are you the Baitman? I never thought it would happen like that, but going to do a lot more cooler things. I'm going to be traveling around and go and meet some other pros and go and fish with some other guys. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, share this video, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Remember the reason. I'm a pretty religious guy. There's a reason I get to do this, and that is because our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, His birthday is Christmas. Let us not forget the reason we celebrate. If you're not religious, I got to mention Him. It's Christmas. Guys, have a good one.